Welcome back, folks. Give me 1 second. We're going to get this all started. It's brand new video, audio. We're doing the whole damn thing. Let's see if I remember how to do it. Right. And where are we live? Give me good. And we're live. Here we go. We're doing it. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Southern Scrap Nation's podcast. Your host, as always, Daniel Jonas, with audio and visual. As you can see, the office and stuff. New place to do all the podcasting, and I said I was gonna get it done. I know it's like fucking 2 years later, but we're back. We're gonna get into the new year with the new fights that are coming out. Obviously, there's stuff in all MMA news to talk about. It's been a kind of chaotic couple weeks, to be honest. And then on top of that, obviously getting the gym all set up and fighters fighting and continuing that ball rolling. I've got Troy fighting this weekend in California. I don't know the promotion. It's Uriah Faber's promotion. Faber MMA promotion. And he's fighting for the title at 185, A1 Combat. Actually, now that I've got this, right? All right, this is he'll be fighting on this card. It'll be on Fight Pass, so if you have Fight Pass, you can see, I'm pretty sure he's the main event. I don't think there's any highlights of him considering he's not fought on it before. Is this it? Yeah. The July. Let me move this thing out of the way. July or January 20th or 13th. I'm not buying tickets. Here you go. Troy Green. Vacant middleweight title against Ryan Loader. Troy coming out of Sacramento at this time. He's fighting, or he's training with Team Santos, BJJ, and Scrap Pack and all of them. And he'll be fighting Friday, so tomorrow, against Ryan Loader, who's a Team Alpha Male guy. Got all right striking, and then obviously tries to wrestle because he's an NCAA champion. And so our mentality is, especially for Troy, since he's a pro, he's 5-1, as you can see. He's fought top level guys. He fought Johan Lanice, as we all know, at CFFC. And his last fight, he won pretty dominantly at Ring of Combat for the middleweight championship there. And he's in a specific point in his life where he's 5-1, 6 MMA fights. You could try to start going to the UFC as far as doing the Dana White Contender Series or finding your entrance into that way. Or you could go the feeder promotion route, which is a Uriah Faber promotion like this, or CFFC again, or something like that, and either fight a couple times in there until you get the call to a Dana White Contender Series, or until you get the call to fight for like an actual MMA or like an actual UFC fight, like on a fight night or something. I like the plan that Troy's kind of come up with, and I think it'll work well in the end, and that's keep fighting in these promotions rather than jumping right into an LFA again. I mean, obviously the call's there and the money's right, do it, but why not go to these other promotions, grab a bunch of titles, get paid, title fights and pro promotions, and then just accumulate a bunch of belts. Obviously, you want to hear them defend, but it's like, this isn't the UFC. If you just prove that you are championship level in every promotion all over the country, I mean, make yourself undeniable, right? And also, it's not bad to just have a bunch of belts in your closet that you get to hold on to and be like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to defend this. So, plus, do it a couple times. He's got He's got 2 belts already from Ring of Combat, so just like adding another one from this one, it just looks nice. It looks nice, and people want to get behind it. All right, it makes you look like a winner. Right, people love winners. It's the hard reality of the sport. I was talking about it the other day. Um, People love winners, and if you want to get investment in something, I think someone was building a fight house or something like that off their own money, and in my mind, I was like, that is the dumbest investment possible. One, fighters bringing no money. Two, you're literally begging people to just like eat from your hand and kind of develop a weird relationship where they feel like they owe you, but also you're paying them to like fuck around all day, and it just gets weird. And unless the only way I would go about a fighter house would be if an angel investor or a company decided to sponsor the house, dated reference because they don't exist anymore, I don't think, but Bang Energy Fighter House. That's exactly what I'd go about. Like I wouldn't even introduce that idea until someone wanted to put money into what you're selling. And like I said, if you're not putting out really good guys and your fighters aren't top tier, I mean, you got a guy here, welterweight title, fighting vacantly for pro. He's 9-9. If he loses this fight, he as a pro, he's 9-10. You know, see what I mean? Like, I'm not to pick on Ozzy Alvarez, but the point being is if I had a bunch of guys like Ozzy Alvarez in a house, no one's going to put money into that investment. And so to do it on my own back and then hope that this guy gets into the UFC, hard truth, the reality is probably not. I'm not getting anything, but there's no ROI on that. And I'm going to go bankrupt. To sum it all up, the point is people like winners, and that's the hard reality of the sport. And that's why everyone loves MMA, is because there's the idea of one-on-one combat. It doesn't get more personal and intimate than that. But the real sad part about it, and that's why the UFC has that like YouTube video compilation of past events called the, what is it? What is it called? Anguish and, well, we'll figure it out right now. We'll figure it out right now. Something about the angle. Anyway, the point being is it's so the thrill and sorry, I found it, so I'm like, never mind, I thought I found it. But the point being is it's the harsh reality that comes into that is there's always a winner and a loser, and the winner usually has a better time financially than the loser. That's why a lot of people don't agree. I'm that kind of person. I don't agree fighters should get paid on whether or not they like their fight or their payment should be dependent on whether or not they win or lose. I think they should get paid. And then whether they win or lose, that's like the financial stuff should come from that, right? Like if they win, then people are more likely to want to invest, and you get more opportunities. And if you lose, you don't. So then you lose out on all these other financial opportunities. Rather than like whether or not my kids eat is dependent on whether or not I step in that cage and win, especially when the owner of the whole thing only win has been by a slap boxing competition. And oh wait, that wasn't slap box competition. Sorry, that was New Year's Eve, and that's news we can get into. But the point being is that's what makes the sport so intriguing. It's the closest to that gladiatorial combat that you're gonna get. And I guess if you're Dana White, you can argue that like, at least they're fighting and getting paid. Remember when the gladiators fought and they didn't get paid? It's like, right. No one remembers that because no one was alive. Why is this so hard to find? The thrill and something. Aha! The thrill and the agony sneak peek. There you go. The thrill and the agony. That's why people love this. Long story short. But anyway, I'm glad to be back. Remember, subscribe to the podcast. We're going to be on YouTube, so hit that noti bell. And then on top of that, obviously iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, wherever you listen to the podcast, download it there. All right. We're going to go over some of the fights that are coming up this weekend because we have Strickland versus Imavov. Nasruddin. I like the guy. Was supposed to be Kelvin Gastelum. Intriguing fight. Now you get like the opposite. Kind of the opposite of Kelvin Gastelum. And there are a couple fights that got canceled. Jai Hilton's not fighting. Jeff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov isn't fighting, and that was kind of a big one. But the fight card's got some pretty good fights on it, despite all that. In the prelims, you have Abdul Razak Al Hassan leading off the headlining the prelims. Oh, wait. Headlining the prelims. So possible fireworks, or this Claudio Ribeiro dude just like takes him down. It's 30. Oh, this is the guy that like left hook knocked out his opponent.
I'm a screen-addicted tween. And if I'm not posting on social media, I don't feel seen. Oh, my God, Mom. Big hook, you're coming.
Yeah, he, like, knocked his opponent out. Boom. With the left hook. And it was, like, the same... He knocked that dude out before with the same shot. I don't know. Some people... It was, like, their third fight together, too. But... He's coming off, I guess, that win. I don't know. Let's see. And then Abdul just fought Sherdog. Joaquin Buckley and lost in a split decision. So, yeah, if I'm him, I'm trying to get that win. Other than that, prelims not so much to talk about. And then main card, you have Usman Nurmagomedov. So I guess we can go ahead and talk about the Nurmagomedov saga that's been going on right now. Khabib, I don't know why he gets so much publicity as far as... I mean, I get why he gets so much publicity in the MMA world. I do. I understand completely. Quote-unquote greatest lightweight of all time. It's like, people are like, well, pick another. I'm like, okay, well, there's not yet, but I wouldn't just, his record is impressive, 29-0, like no one else has. I love his technique. I highly encourage any fighter to find his instructionals online. Go give those a peek. They're on YouTube. At least some of them are. I'm not doubting any of that, right? What I'm doubting is the quote-unquote nut-hugging that comes from the MMA media about Khabib. Like, they follow his every step. They give him Coach of the Year. Now, no doubt, like, the fighters that he was in the corner of, they won, and, you know, he stayed undefeated as a quote-unquote coach. And I'm sure he does well. I'm sure he does coach, and I'm sure he does a very good job of, like, being a team leader. The way I look at it more is like he's like a team captain. But let's not kid ourselves. He retired. He's in the peak of his athletic prime right now. He should be fighting. Oh, he's done so much for the sport already. I mean, you can look at his record. He fought cans. Let's not get it twisted. He fought cans as a pro. It's not... He did fight UFC caliber fighters. Don't get me wrong, what he did to Dustin Poirier and all those guys. Absolutely. But he's not a god. So this idea that he needs to, like, we need to watch every step of his. And so when he decides that he's going to retire from MMA and all aspects of the sport, okay, why should we care? And then why is that publicity? I know MMA media isn't, there's not like a much to talk about. I mean, this past week kind of gave us a lot with Dana White slapping his wife and a couple fighters passing away, and that kind of stuff, and fights being announced. So to me, if Khabib wants to make the decision, I'm not gonna fight or be in the fighting realm anymore, good. And in the words of my training partner and friend Ash, then don't have an opinion about MMA either. Then everyone in the MMA world, we're done talking about him. He's out. He's out. Then he's out. All right? That's the way I look at it, is like, if he wants to be out, then he's out. So he's not going to be in the corner of Usman Magomedov this weekend, who fights Hani Barales, which is great. Or Hani Barcelos, sorry. Not thinking of a different person. That's kind of the same name. I'm going to say Umar does a great job and goes by the plan and beats Barcelos. And that's going to be without Khabib in his corner. And this is going to tie what I'm going to say. I'm going to tie everything I was saying together. Despite Khabib being in their corner. Like, all this idea that, like, oh my God, this one guy is so great as a fighter and as a coach and stuff like that. No, dude. I think it's the mentality of all the people that these guys grow up with. They're a product of their environment. Khabib, I could argue, is the only one that made an environment a product of them. But even all that, these guys are a product of their environment. They are hard-nosed fighters. They Sambo world champions or Sambo competitors. Like, they are built for this. So regardless if Khabib's in Umar's corner or not, I think he wins on Saturday night. What I mean by all that is, let's not just get hung up on the one guy. This guy's named Nurmagomedov. Fuck, I learned this the other day. You can look this up. There's a Turkish fighter named Hamzat Borz, some other last name. There's going to be another one. There's going to be fighters like them. So get caught up on the one person. I get that he's undefeated. So is this Umar guy. He's undefeated too. Let's talk about Umar Nurmagomedov now. Let's talk about Islam Makhachev. I know Islam has a loss, but at least Islam's loss is against a guy that we saw at top level competition. Like, that shows me more respect for Islam, that he's now gone undefeated since that, because he's learned. In my mind, the way I look at it is, if Khabib came back, it's a hard road for him to come back, because there's no doubt that he can beat a lot of the guys still. But the further and further you get away from the sport, and if you want to completely disengage yourself from the sport, and if you were to come back and try to make that 30-0, there's a lot of things that we haven't seen in the cage at a high level from him. If he got cut, if he got knocked down, and I mean, courtesy to him, that, like, he's never let those things happen. But when you distance yourself from the sport and then come back, and the sport's evolved without you, that's why I don't think he'll ever be 30. That's why we won't ever get 30-0 Khabib. And we should worry more about the guys that are super active and are active at the highest level, the Umars, the Islams, and the whoever else. Even the Bellator guys. I know Bellator right now has a Nurmagomedov champion, or a Said. But anyway, point being is, like, focus on those guys now. He's gone. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go. All right, and then we have Ketlin Vieira and Raquel Pennington. Big fan of Ketlin. She was a wrestler for Brazil. I forget if she was a champ, but her last fight, I'm pretty sure she won against, not the Kunitskaya, it was Holly Holm, Misha Tate, and she lost to Yana Kunitskaya. So she's on a 2-fight winning streak. And her last fight was against Holly Holm that she won. And in that fight, she played a little bit safe because Holly Holm was like an idol to her. Or no, the Misha Tate fight, she was like that. The Holly Holm fight, she did well. And then Raquel Pennington, still doing the damn thing. I'm pretty sure she won her last fight too. Yeah, she's on a 4-fight winning streak. Raquel's gonna be a hard fight because Ketlin's kind of the same style. They're kind of the same style, but I don't see Raquel quitting, and that's the difference. Is I think Raquel's more of a dog, and in that kind of fight, 3 rounds though, obviously the younger person can be more explosive and keep up that pace for 3 rounds. However, the Raquel Pennington situation of her being more of a dog, if things get a little bit, being the same style, if they hurt each other or whatever, I see Raquel winning a decision in that sense, or finding a submission in the chaos, right? Or I see like a TKO in like a quitting aspect, right? I don't really see like a 1-punch knockout or anything like that. My mind, I'm going to go Raquel Pennington because I'm going to go for the dog. And as far as like betting or whatever, if you were to put money on it, she's probably the underdog, so get some money on that side. I don't know betting terms. And then we have the Punale Soriano versus Roman Kopylov. 9-2 at middleweight, 30-30. Oh, this dude is this guy's pretty good. I forget who he beat. Maybe it was Joaquin. He beat DeCurico. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I was really surprised by him. Oh no. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, these guys are gonna sling. That's what Roman was saying. He seeks a stand-up battle with Soriano, so he wants to sit there and throw punches. Listen, I'm gonna go with the Russian guy. Once again, dog mentality. I can count on the Russian guy to be a dog. Soriano, I'm pretty sure he's coming off of a win, but he had a really hard time with a guy who was constantly in his face. Yeah. The Nick Maximov fight. I see this a lot like this. Nick Maximov just kind of kept going forward. He's one of those Diaz guys, but he had really good wrestling, and I kind of see that fight for this. It's just like Roman putting the pressure on him, putting Soriano on the back foot, not letting him get the explosive power out of those punches, and being like technically pressuring. Go with the Russian cat. And then the featherweight division for the co-main event, Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. Dan Ige, 100%, won all day. I can even move on to the next one. Damon Jackson's had a couple good fights. He's got veteran dog savvy in him. But this is one of the cases where having a dog isn't enough. Like, Dan Ige is a dog, but on top of that, he's technically better than Damon Jackson. So, immediately, 2 dogs in the yard, it negates each other. It's the guy with the better technique and the guy that's been fighting at the highest level against the best people and keeping that good composure. So, Dan Ige all day. And then finally, we have Nasruddin Imavov versus Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland, the first fighter to ever go back-to-back headlining, just came off of a loss against Jared Cannonier. I watched the fight. Typical Sean Strickland fight, moving forward, not enough volume towards the end. And then Jared Cannonier slowly getting the bigger and more punishing shots off as the fight went on and doing a good job of lateral movement, getting off to an angle, switching stances, never letting the Sean Strickland forward pressure continue. We'll eventually get into the fact about the Alex Pereira thing, and then since 2021 I was talking about it, so eventually we'll talk about it. But as long as you keep that kind of diversity in your striking and fight IQ with the moving laterally and not standing in front of Sean Strickland, you'll technically be better than him and do a good job, and like most likely deal with that like weird hand trapping jab cross combination thing that he does. And Nasruddin's kind of the guy for that. Nasruddin is the middleweight Cyril Gane, Dagestani, who doesn't wrestle, has the wrestling capability of a Dagestani, but chooses to fight like Cyril Gane. In and out, different stances, different looks. As a middleweight, it's going to be very hard to deal with that. There's only going to be a couple middleweights, maybe like a Robert Whittaker, and then obviously the Izzy, the Alex Pereira, that are going to be able to deal with a guy like Imavov because he's so fluid. Obviously, there's fights when he gets in. His Joaquin Buckley fight, I don't know if people didn't like it. But technically, when you watch him, he's so good. He lost to Phil Hawes on a majority decision, and that's the thing. He like lost in a decision, but he's just so good. Technically, Edmund Shabazian, he got into Crucifix, beat up Ian Heinisch, and then Joaquin Buckley. It was one of those fights where watching the fight, he technically looked very good, but maybe the crowd didn't like it because they were expecting Joaquin Buckley to do some crazy ninja shit, and that just doesn't happen because when you have a guy as good as Nasruddin, like, you can't just walk forward, and that's the Sean Strickland thing. Like, you're not going to be able to just walk forward on this guy. But there's no one better to step in on that late notice with dog mentality. The co-main event and main event, usually I would choose the dog in this situation, right? But the technicality on the other side, I think, outmatches that, and they also have the dog's mentality too. Nasruddin's going to be his first 5-round fight. We'll see if he can handle the pressure of the pace of Sean Strickland and the pressure. But I think with the patience of Nasruddin and the variety of his strikes, or the variety of his techniques, I think that's going to outdo Sean. And that's a big thing. Like, when you watch these fights, a good way to know and pick on who you want or who you think is going to win, if it seems dead even, go back, watch their fights, see who has more diversity in their strike, like successful diversity. I don't mean like the Cody Garbrandt like low leg sweep kicks that he tries to do from fucking Street Fighter. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the variety in, like, do they switch stances? Do they throw a jab cross and then maybe like a kick from the same side, jab cross, different side kick? Like, do they switch it up, never give a beat? And that's kind of how do they throw in takedowns? Obviously, that's kind of how you can pick who's going to win, is someone who's comfortable at that highest level doing everything proficiently and effectively, compared to someone who, yeah, I mean, obviously they might be talented in like a striking only or grappling only sense, but sports evolved. People get better. Imavov, my guy. I'm going Imavov. So, recap. Umar Nurmagomedov, Raquel Pennington, Roman Kopylov, Dan Ige, and Nasruddin Imavov. Put your money down on it or don't. Up to you. I don't really care. All right. So next is going over some news, going over some like what's going on in the MMA world. Let's catch up on some stuff. Is this blue? Is this white, or whatever that picture was? Remember a long time ago? Daniel Cormier, good. Yeah. Debate that Dana White was wrong for altercation with wife. Good. Way to really step up to your boss, right? For all the despicable shit you would talk about to John Jones. This is the worst you're gonna give. He was in the wrong. There's no debate. He was in the wrong for it. You know what? Let me see if he said anything more before I just start Dana White was wrong. Okay. Da-da-da-da-da. Now there's a question, though. In these sentences, the only thing that you can think about first is the family Joe and the rest of the family if they get this. But he has made no excuse for his actions. Some fighters are trying to defend him. He doesn't defend himself. Why should anyone defend him? I was wrong. Everyone knows I was wrong. How does he go forward and to lead the charge to help people in this type of situation? It's not a different debate whether or not they're on. There's another debate. Sorry that I'm not reading this, but I'm assuming my listeners. Oh yeah, there's listeners. Okay, let me read it. It's no debate. It's not like you can sit up here for 10 minutes and debate whether or not it was right or wrong. There's no debate. Everyone is on the same page. He said it's wrong. I know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. And everyone around the world knows it's wrong. But in reality is what comes next. How does Dana White help this issue going forward? I think what's important. Quote unquote by Daniel Cormier. Absolutely. But she said some pretty nasty things about John Jones in the same situation. And I understand this man pays your bills. I understand that. But are we standing up for what's wrong, or are we standing up for what's right? And in this situation, I think Dana White should go on fucking leave. I think he should get suspended. I think for what he did on national television, it's a PR fucking nightmare. Obviously, not for the slap. Well, I guess it was for the power slap competition. I thought it was more for the demographic of people, that it was just an awesome promotion thing that he was doing. Turns out it wasn't. It was a real domestic violence situation, and he wasn't pandering to the power slap community. That being said, sorry for any power slapping fans. Just kidding. It's awful. Why would you sit there and take getting slapped? It's the same thing with combat jiu-jitsu. Fight each other. 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 Just anyway. Point being, it's absolutely wrong. You never hit a woman. There's that great bit, Anthony Jeselnik. I think you never hit a woman. But what if she's drowning? What if she's killed two of your kids and is like drowning in the middle of the third one? Maybe Daniel Tosh in the middle of drowning the third one. Do you like hit her then? See how crazy of a parallel you'd have to make it till it's okay to like physically do something. In a situation like that, there's drinking involved and everything. But I've been in college, I've been blacked out, and I've seen both sides of this. I've seen both sides of it, right? I've been on the end of getting hit while we were both drunk, and you just, as a man, you have to just be a fucking man and be like, I can't. You just can't. You're a different species. You will do damage. And Dana White is fucking big. You know? It's not okay on either side, obviously. But this is where being a man is necessary. Jerry Prohashka sitting right here, and I can't help but look, and it's like, he's like the what you want. He's not a hothead. He's one of the most dangerous men in the world, but he's humble and quiet, and that's the difference. And that's where you see Dana White is a promoter. That's where you see promotion in this sport is garbage business. You are in the business of pinning people to fight each other for barely any money. You're probably a garbage human being. Oh man, I guess I'm not going to get invited to some UFC events. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't, that kind of behavior, I go, well, duh. The guy's in the business of shady fighting promotion. He's been in that kind of business. That's why, to me, Jerry Prohashka is the role model. He steps into that cage. He does the unspeakable in the fact that he beats the hell out of grown men his size or bigger, becomes the champion, and then he can go back to being humble as all else. He can go to the woods and punch a tree and become one with nature after being in this mecca of combat sports with millions of people screaming your name, going home, and their whole country just reveling in your praise. And this guy would never act out of violence, even if he was inebriated. Because he's a fucking man. And he's disciplined. And he's what the men should aspire to be. Dana White is a successful man, has all the money in the fucking world, yet he's not happy at home. Because what he does isn't manly. Because he's not that guy. He's not someone who's mentally checked and has their discipline under control. He's got all the money in the world and has been in a relationship with his wife forever, has kids, has successful businesses, has a shitty food thing that he does every Friday. And yet that man's still not happy and still can't get his emotions in check. Oh, I was drunk. It's not an excuse, homie. It's definitely not a fucking excuse. Oh, it's a debate. He's wrong. He's wrong. So he's gonna go help people. He's gonna go pour money into domestic violence charities that probably don't go to any victims at all and probably just go back to people that own the charity and fucking run the nonprofit. Because most charities are, we know. Oh, he's wrong. It's more than wrong, dude. You should be asking. You should be trying to get. You should be voting to get your boss fired. He makes everybody look bad. Hey, remember when people thought that the UFC was just a bunch of, is just like cage fighting and just like, no, it's like human cockfighting is what Senator McCain said. What's human cockfighting? Hey, when your president slaps his wife in front of everyone, it doesn't really help your point. And we're 20 years past that, or 10 years past that. Anyway. Sadly, a couple athletes have passed away. Stephen Bonner passed away, along with Victoria Lee. Devastating for the Lee family. I mean, 17-year-old MMA professional fighter. She's 3-0. Well, she was 3-0. Condolences to the Lee family. I'm sure that's really hard. They quit, or they closed their gym down. You know, and Christian and Angela are still champions and still fight. Sorry, my cat's right here. If y'all can't see, he's about to fall. But anyway, condolences. And then Stephen Bonner, obviously, sad. A lot of people saying, "Oh man, super sad," but no one was there. You know, when things were going rough for him, and I guess things were rough for him towards the end. I mean, it does suck when like Forrest gets a salary job at the UFC PI for nothing but like cracking jokes and being like a good mascot. It's like it could have easily been a job for two. You know, maybe Forrest takes one day and then Stefan takes the next day. It's not a complicated job. And like I said, Dana White has all the money in the world. Could have helped the guy out a little bit. Whatever, you know. Obviously, like I guess it goes back to the very beginning of this whole podcast and video session. It's like we only care about the winners, and I guess since Forrest won all those years ago, even though it took two to make it happen, he's the only one that's entitled to any job, because you know. Anyway. Ian Gary looking for a fight against Brian Barberena, which is hilarious because Brian Battle's looking for a fight against Ian Gary. And Ian Gary is looking for a guy that's in Gastonia, not too far from Brian Battle. Could have easily been Brian. Just saying. Just saying, Ian Gary. AJ McKee re-signs with Bellator. Of course, he probably gets paid a lot of money. Why wouldn't you? Especially when you see what the UFC is getting paid. Along with when you watch what happens with the UFC. This is another thing. If you're a pro fighter now and you watch what happened with Dana White, I don't know. If I was like, if my contract was up with Bellator or Ryzen or whatever, or one, I'd be like, maybe just re-sign me. It's probably not the best time. No. Gunnar Nelson versus Daniel Rodriguez. Oh, shit. Hell yeah, dude. I love me some Gunny Nelson. Gunnar Nelson. Oh, what a battle. Daniel Rodriguez actually has pretty good jiu-jitsu. Gunnar Nelson has way better jiu-jitsu, that's for sure. His striking, too, is it's going to be hard to deal with. But, like, especially for, like, Daniel Rodriguez, who's pretty forward-pressing boxer. Gunnar's in and out style is going to be hard. But my question is, does the half guard to back control, does it work? You know? Or does Daniel Rodriguez do his homework and realize it's a little bit of a puzzle to solve? Nice. 69%. All right, let's go to some joke news. Well, not really joke news, but the less serious news. Actually, let me check if there's anything else. Oh, also, Phil Baroni, Christ, killed his girlfriend in Mexico. He had 50 to 75 years in prison for alleged murder. Neighbors saw violent temper. Oh, man, all in Mexico. Not good. Not a place that you want to be arrested and put in jail. I don't care how many years you fought in the UFC. I don't care how bad of a tough guy you are. I mean, from going from slapping your wife New Year's Eve to killing your girlfriend, yeah, there are some shitheads in this fucking sport. There are some pieces of shit for sure. Not going to beat around the bush. Fighting, it's professional fighting. There are going to be some garbage human beings. But it's about being better than that, right? It's about between the last time I filmed this, or last time I did this podcast, and now, the new God of War came out, and you know, a guy who had a really bad past in Kratos learned from his mistakes and told his son it's about being better, right? You have to teach your kids to be better. You have to do what you can to make sure that everyone is, the next generation's better than the previous generation. And there are some people that do not get the fucking memo. I do not get the memo. You don't think Dana White's kids see that and go, I mean, if my dad can. And it's one thing. And it's like, it's one thing if you perpetuate it in like in really impoverished areas, like where crime is not normal, is kind of every day, but people get the repercussions because in the sad case of the United States and around the world, lower income families and lower income places are going to have higher crime, and on top of that are going to be patrolled more and more, I guess not so much in certain states now, by the police. And that's why there's a big cycle of you go to prison, you get out, you come back, But because they don't have the money. But when you have someone who has the money to do stuff like that and they can get away with it, quote unquote, and they can pay whatever they need to pay, the kids or, you know, whoever is looking up to you can see that it's just a slap on the wrist. If I just slap my wife in front of everybody, it's just a slap on the wrist. Oh, it's no big deal. I'll just pay whoever I need to pay. There's no self-responsibility. And it's kind of hard to teach that. How are you going to teach that when your influence and power makes it all go away, makes everything quote unquote normal? Right. Bellator 8-man lightweight world Grand Prix lineup announced will start March 10th. Oh, the day after my birthday. What a present. I love the tournaments that Bellator does. I think it's cool. My overall in the past couple of years that I've really liked is just the PFL format. Treat it like a sport. It's a season. You fight for a season, and if you win, you win $1 million. Obviously, you make money every fight, but there is a prize of $1 million. Incentivizing people to win with a grand prize, but also letting them live and perform the best that they can by making sure that their bills are paid so they don't have anything else to worry about. And they can focus on winning that $1 million. And it's been great. You're changing people's lives. I love the PFL. PFL. I don't know how that works with ESPN and the UFC, but whatever. All right, joke news. Scott Coker reacts to pretty funny cancellation of Dylan Dennis versus KSI. I'm not going to talk about that. KSI, Dylan Dennis, they're going to box. What more now? Why should anyone... Marvin Vettori explains why Alex Pereira will beat Israel Adesanya again at the rematch. Let's see if it's a concise, detailed reason, or if it's the same reason why I think he would win. No, if Pereira fight with Izzy again, he'll beat Izzy again. It's just, I don't know, I feel like he had a mission on beating him. Now he doesn't even really, of course he cares because everyone cares about money, but he knows it's very good crap. But I don't mind. But I don't mind him. I like him. If I have a chance to fight him, I definitely want to fight him. Now I feel like I have to do a couple fights before. How does this... That wasn't really an answer. All right, the reason why I think Pereira beats Izzy in the rematch is because he's beat him 3 times already. End of story. Tatiana Suarez is returning against Montella de la Rosa. That should be fun. Tatiana Suarez, if you didn't know, was like an Olympic gold medal wrestler. She's probably the biggest dark horse of the strawweight division, but she's had injuries after injuries after injuries. I mean, I don't know if they're even fighting. The Corey Sandhagen, Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. I don't think they're fighting. Corey Sandhagen versus someone. We're getting that fight soon. Let's see. We're getting a really good fight soon. No. Vera versus Corey Sandhagen. Yeah. Speaking of Johan. Anyway. All right, back to this. Michael. All right, is that it? That might be it. That might be it. Yeah, 50 minutes. Been pretty good. Yeah, so in total, in all, it's good to be back. I'm glad we have this whole setup now. I can continue bringing you guys. Oh, wait. It's been fun. Thank you. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We're getting ready for fights in February. Once again, support Troy at Uriah Faber's A1 Combat League. A1 Combat number 7 Night of Champions. Please support him. Watch it. January 13th, live at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then in February, we've got Xavier fighting at Underground Battle something in Myrtle Beach. It's Derek Brunson's promotion, so that'll be fun. He's looking to win his next fight. He had a really good showing his last fight. Sadly, he lost in a 3rd round submission, but looked very good all those rounds prior to it. Good to learn these lessons now as an amateur. Hopefully, we can put it all together in his next fight. Other than that, and Gegard Mousasi versus Fabian Edwards for Paris. Ooh, that's a good fight. Leon Edwards' brother is going to fight Gegard Mousasi, who I think is arguably one of the best middleweights of all time. Gets overlooked, sadly. Now, you could say now, but no, I was talking about... I mean, his prime's weird because this he's got 50-something fights, and he's only 38, 36 or something. And when I say only, for the number of fights he has, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, Edwards is 2-9. He's 37, and he's got... Where's his... They don't have his fight record. My cat's falling. All right, anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Like I said, like and subscribe to the podcast. iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play. On top of that, Sunscrap Nation, sunscrapnation.com for anything else. Training. You can book training here, Charlotte, North Carolina. Come train with me, one-on-one. Book your times. The schedule is available. Sunscrapnation.com for more information. I've been your host, once again, Daniel Jonas. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you next week.